Welcome to Mythgard, the mythological urban fantasy card game. This video covers the basics of how to play Mythgard, including the different card types and the rules for deck building. Like many card games, players win a game of Mythgard by bringing the opponent's health total down to 0. To do this, a player needs to understand the game board and the different types of cards used in Mythgard. Let's start by explaining the different elements of the game board. The main board in Mythgard features 7 lanes for each player. Minions are played into a lane on your side of the board, and they can interact with minions that are in the 3 adjacent lanes on the opposing side of the board. Attacking an open lane will deal damage equal to the minion's strength value to the opponent. Attacking an opposing minion will result in each minion dealing damage equal to their strength value to each other. Players must attack an opposing minion if one is present. Some keywords, however, like Agile, Defender, or Lurker, will allow players to break the general rules for attacking. All minions have a strength and a health value. They also have a minion type. Some might have keywords or special abilities on their card. Minions may also have activated abilities, some of which require the minion to spend an action which prevents them from attacking or moving in the same round. Minions cannot attack or use actions the turn they are played, unless they have the special rush keyword. All minions can spend their action to move to an open adjacent lane instead of attacking. Some minions also use energy in order to activate special abilities. These abilities do not require an action, so they may be activated in addition to attacking. How the minion gains or loses energy will be listed on the card. Finally, all minions have a cost in mana and gems. This is a good time to talk about how you acquire resources and pay for cards in Mythgard. To gain mana, a player may burn a card in their hand once per turn. When a card is burned, the player gains 1 mana and 1 gem. A burned card is then shuffled back into their deck. The gem gained is typically tied to the color of the card. In the case of cards that cost multiple kinds of gems, the gem gained when you burn a card is indicated by the color in the burn ring in the top left portion of the card. This system of burning cards is intended to ensure that players never have to worry about drawing their resources specifically, as each card in your deck can serve as a resource if needed. Choosing which cards to burn will provide players with meaningful decisions regarding their resources, as well as help to create opportunities for players to adapt each and every game. Cards can only be burned once per game, so if you draw a card that has already been burned, it cannot be burned again. Playing cards in Mythgard requires a player to pay the cost in mana and gems. Mana and gems are refreshed at the start of each turn. Some activated abilities on cards themselves will also cost mana, gems, or both. Now that we know how cards are played, let's talk about the other card types that are in Mythgard. While minions are played into lanes, enchantments are also played on lanes to enhance them. A lane can contain an enchantment and a minion at the same time. The enchantment is not tied to the minion, however, but instead to the position on the board. This means that if a minion moves to another lane, or if a minion meets an untimely end, the enchantment stays behind and new minions can take advantage of it in the future. Enchantments help to warp the battlefield in a fun and interesting way. Mythgard also features spell cards. These are one-time use effects that can help turn the tide of a game. The last card type in Mythgard is artifacts. Artifacts provide long-term bonuses, but do not sit directly on the lanes like enchantments. Most artifacts also have a durability value. This value goes down whenever you take damage. If an artifact reaches 0 durability, it is destroyed. Some artifacts do not have a durability value, and thus cannot be destroyed by damage. Some artifacts can also be stacked, increasing the power of the effect while only taking up 1 slot. Each player in Mythgard will have a path and a power. These are chosen by players when they build their deck, and they grant the players special abilities that can be utilized during the game. Your path is shown on the left side of the board, and your opponent's path is shown on the right. Each path adjusts the health that the player starts with at the beginning of the game, as well as granting unique effects. Paths also have a pursuit, which is granted to the player going second. Your power is an activated ability that costs 2 mana, and it triggers a special effect. The last thing to cover before you get started is deck building. Decks in Mythgard consist of 40 cards. Each deck has 1 path and 1 power. Decks can contain any combination of the 6 colors. Each color in Mythgard represents a faction, and it is also represented by a gem type. There are 4 card rarity types in Mythgard, and they are common, uncommon, rare, and mythic. The rarity of a card directly limits the number that can be put in your deck. This means you can put in 4 copies of a common card, 3 copies of an uncommon, 2 copies of a rare, and only 1 copy of a mythic card in your deck. Now that you know the basics, it's time to get started playing Mythgard. There are several game modes to try, including a story mode, 2v2, puzzles, and more. The game features some great progression systems, including ranked play and player levels. If you have more questions, make sure to check out the in-game guide or join the game's Discord server. Don't forget that Mythgard is available on PC, mobile, and you can even play it in a web browser. Your account follows you to each platform, so you don't have to worry about rebuilding your collection every time. This is it for this introduction to Mythgard, so thanks for watching and have fun.